How to manage money as a married couple. Wow, this is a topic that is so fun for me specifically to talk about because my wife and I have been married for almost 2 years, and it is one of the most challenging and yet probably one of the most important things when it comes to any sort of relationship, whether you're in a committed, long term relationship. Obviously, my wife and I are married, even for like new relationships, right? You just started seeing each other, you might even be in the talking stage or whatever. This is such a fun conversation to talk about. So I want to do a deep dive in just the conversations that my wife and I are having, give some real world experiences of what we're talking about right now, and how I think that some of these conversations you can start having, and it might give you some really good on ramps to then talk with your significant other about these topics. So I'm just going to tell you, out of the two of us, my wife and I, and she would agree with this, so I'm not saying anything that she doesn't know. I am definitely stronger when it comes to managing a budget, just understanding finances in general. And so she has taken the option of, I'm just going to give all that stuff to you, Danny. You take all of it. I'm just going to, do my thing, right? But even if that situation might be similar to yours, right, where one person handles the finances within your relationship, within your marriage, or even within your just dating relationship, you still need to have conversations of what is going on, where are you at in the future, and especially right now, right? If you guys are, I mean, looking around in general, right? And this is without stating any sort of political stance on it, right? Everything has gone up. Rent has gone up. Grocery prices have gone up. Going out to eat has gone up. Gas has gone up. I mean, everything is just very high right now. And so having these strategic conversations and learning how to manage your finances as a couple is very important. So, number one, and this is what my wife and I do, is we have a clear goal in mind. So right now I'm in our beautiful apartment, but we are having a child soon, which we're super excited about. And we obviously know that we cannot stay in an apartment long term. So our goal is to save so that we can buy a house to really start our family and establish them in a sustainable environment, right? And so for you, what you need to figure out with your significant other is, what is the goal currently that we are trying to achieve, right? And you really, really, really need to pinpoint just one and focus on it. Now, the reason why I say this, and this is going to be pretty, self explanatory, but if you have a goal, it gives you the ability to, when you have conflict, say, well, hey, babe, I am trying to help us reach or obtain our goal of buying a house, or for some of you it might be paying off debt, right? Being debt free, which is a great thing. Paying off your car, paying off your student loans, right? Or building an emergency fund, right? You maybe want to get to where you have $20,000 in the bank, right? There's a lot of things that you can put, but you have to have a quantified goal. That is the main point. Number one is how you manage finances is get a goal, because then out of that you can start to build a budget, which is number two. You need to have some sort of a working budget that you and your significant other agree upon. Now, this is where my wife and I's story and our experiences are probably going to differ from someone who might have a accountant's degree or be a little bit more focused on data points. We don't actually track our budget necessarily, or lock ourselves in to we need to only spend $200 a month on gas, $500 a month on groceries, right? We don't limit ourselves. But what I ask of my wife and I ask of our relationship is, hey, every month I would like to at least save $1,000 a month. So that is our temporary working budget that we try to hit every single month. And so, on average, we, over the past 6 months, awesomely enough, and this is like, hallelujah, we have been averaging around $2,000 a month. So and that's in the positive, right? So that's really awesome, because then if you quantify that out, if we can average that, oh, that's my wife right now texting me, if we can average that out over a year, that is $24,000 a year that we are saving, that then can be put into a down payment on a house, right? Which is our number one goal. So to me, this is where I am probably not the norm, right? If you really want to get super specific and strategic with your goals, you probably need to be a little bit harder on your overall budget. For my wife and I, we don't have any debt. We do have some car payments, so technically we have debt, but it's very reasonable, very manageable. We don't have any other, we don't have any student loans, don't have anything floating, no credit card debt. So we're able to have a more liberal kind of just floating approach. But now that we have a little one coming on the way, we're going to have to start budgeting and figuring out, okay, what's the next step, right? Because my wife's going to be out because she's going to be on maternity leave. We've got a lot of more things to navigate. So depending on your situation and where you are in your overall relationship trajectory, this piece is going to change, right? But having a budget that you can stick to is really, really important when it comes to how to manage your money within a relationship. Okay, sorry about that. I had to check to make sure that my wife was all good. So, all right, getting back to this concept of how to manage your finances as a couple, married couple, or just a couple in general. After you have solidified what your style of budgeting is going to be, right? You've got so many options. You've got mine, which is kind of more percentage based, or kind of a monthly goal. I've seen people talk about the envelope approach, which is really powerful. You've got really, like I said, the more I'm gonna check every single month, and we're gonna only do $200 a month for gas, or whatever those things are, and very targeted. You have to know what is suitable for you as either the financial manager of your relationship. And obviously you can get into the whole details of, do we do a joint account or separate account? I'm not really going to want to get into that specifically in this video, because I really more broadly want to talk about the strategy of, what are the steps to really start to get you into a place of where you want to be, right? So the biggest one is figure out what that tangible goal is, and then start to get a budget, because if in order for you to reach that goal, you're going to have to start saving and allocating some money to that, right? So figuring out what budgetary aspect works for you. And then number 3, and this is a crucial one, is give yourself a date, right? Give yourself an actual time. When it comes to my wife and I, we based on, the interest rates, there's a lot that goes into a house, but we still have a goal of when we want to obtain a house, or the ability to have a house. Now, if the goalpost moves and it becomes more favorable, then that's awesome, right? Because what happens with that is we're able to then get a house sooner, right? And so having a goal set in stone is a really great thing, because it's kind of a North Star, right? You've got okay, this is exactly what we're saving towards. This is how we want our finances to be as a relationship. But then number 2, you've got that goal, and then you have a date associated with that goal. It's really powerful. I don't know if you guys have looked into the whole idea of manifestation, or just the power of words and kind of speaking out those things. I'm a firm believer in that. I think that is very, very true. If you have a date and you're telling yourself, you're speaking to your spouse about that date, it is definitely more likely that you are going to reach that goal, because it is something that you are just putting out into the universe, whatever you believe in. I'm of the belief mindset that our tongue is very powerful. The Bible talks all about that. And so I want to speak out the goals that I think are going to be beneficial for my wife and I, and for our family. So having a date, though, saying, I will buy a house by January the 5th of 2026, right? That's an example, right? And so, we haven't necessarily done a great job of that, of actually picking a specific date. But if you can get really solidified on that, I just feel like that is such a powerful aspect that you can add into the management of your finances. So that's number three, getting a set in stone date, something that you can always look at and push towards. And if the date doesn't happen, that's also okay, right? It's not like you're going to be screwed if you don't hit it by the date, right? Now, obviously, depending on your situation, if you're paying off loans by a certain time, that might start to actually be more important, right? So it just depends on where you're at. But so that's number three. All right. Number four is, in order to reach the financial goals and how to handle your finances, a big one that my wife and I are really stumbling on is creating additional revenue sources, right? So we are looking to obtain a house right now, based on where we are and where our situation is moving, because my wife is pregnant, she's probably not going to be able, every single month to work at the same capacity that she's working at pregnant, right? We're obviously going to have maternity leave where she's not going to be getting paid because she doesn't have a full-time job where they allow for maternity leave. It's more, contracted part-time jobs that she's doing right now. And so we have to think, okay, we're actually going to, in the next, 6 to 7 months, hit a major roadblock because one of our incomes is going to go away for a little bit. And so we're already talking about that. And that's partially why I'm starting this YouTube channel, is I'm trying to create additional revenue streams, a side hustle, if you will, to where we can kind of bridge that gap to where when it comes to the time where my wife, she's not working, we won't ideally hit a financial roadblock, right, for that. So the best way that I would describe it is, if you have any sort of a passion, right? Anything that you're remotely interested in, I would give that a try right now while you already know exactly where your budget is. You already know how much income you're making, and it will also help you establish and reach those financial goals, those financial situations that you and your significant other have discussed, right? And so I think there's so much power in side hustles. It gives you a lot of power over your employer, right? That's a big thing, especially right now. People are worried about, oh, I might get laid off. The economy's not doing so well. Well, if you have a side hustle that you're actually generating revenue from, that makes it to where you are seated in a position of power versus being fully reliant upon, a job or a career, right? So that's a really I would definitely recommend doing your due diligence. Not every single person is going to love the idea of doing side hustles. I personally love it. The second I get off work, I'm thinking, okay, what else can I do, right? I'm a very active person. And if you or your significant other is like that, then I would recommend, literally right after this YouTube video, go search on YouTube best side hustles to start in 2024, or best side hustles that generate $500 a month or something like that. Actually, if you'd like, I have a couple of side hustles that I'm currently doing that are generating me additional income. Let me know in the comments if you would like for me to make a video purely on side hustles. That's something that I love to talk about. And maybe that could spark an idea then that you can say, oh, this guy's doing that, I can do it, and I could do it better, right? Maybe you are really good at talking to a camera, or you're very personable. Shoot, I would start a YouTube channel. That's why I started a YouTube channel, is because I want to discuss topics that I'm interested in, and I know that YouTube is one of the biggest social platforms, and I know that they pay their content creators, right? And so, you can even do it on a smaller scale, do it on TikTok, do it on Instagram, right? There's so many opportunities to establish a really solidified side hustle, and depending on where your goals are, right? And I should really preface this, going back to number one of setting goals. One of your financial goals might be that you go down to a one income household, right? Your wife, and this is what my wife does, she wants to be a mom at the end of the day. And so we are having those conversations of that's a kind of a sub goal within our immediate goal, which is to own a home, right? Our secondary goal is to get my wife to where we are able financially for her to just be with our little ones, to be with our children, and to raise them, homeschool them, take them all over the parks and just enjoy life together, right? And so In order to do that, though, you have to think outside of the box, right? You can also, this is a great one, invest in yourself, right? Get some sort of certification that might help with your job, right? Or think about starting your own business, right? For me, I work as a sales director and an account executive for a company that does digital marketing. So maybe a play for me would be to start my own digital marketing agency. I'm probably not going to do that, but that just gives you ideas of, okay, this is the experience that I have. Maybe I can move into a new area just based on my skills, the things that I've attained on, or invest in yourself and obtain new skills, right? I mean, for example, having a real estate license is huge, right? If you sell one home, the commission on that, depending on the price of the home, might be, upwards of $30,000. I mean, if you do one a year, that could be huge, right? Social media, like I said, posting on social media is so valuable right now. That could be something that you do. And then maybe 6 months, a year from now, you start to generate a little bit of income from it, right? You never know, but if you don't start, you won't see yourself actually fulfill those things. So that would be another thing that my wife and I are talking about all the time is how do we create additional sources of income that can then go back to our North Star. Like I said, point number one, the goal that we have to own a home. Right now, it's going to take us a lot longer to reach that goal based on the budgeting that we've done because we don't have just an absorbent amount of income coming in. So a natural thing to do is say, okay, well, let's make more income, right? Let's see more income come in on a regular basis. And a great way to do that is through a side hustle. Okay, I am totally rocking a passenger princess here to continue on. My wife picked me up because we got to go get her car. I was just talking about increasing your income. The next thing that I would highly recommend when it comes to managing your finances as a couple is you need to start to document the process of managing your finances, right? And see how things are going. So, my wife and I, we do a monthly check-in, right? Where we're going to every month just look at our finances and talk about, how are things going? How are we doing? Are we missing the mark? Are we spending a little bit too much, right? You have to be able to look at those specific goals that you have and target to reach those goals on a monthly basis. So you want to always be checking in with your significant other and saying, how did we do this month? Are there things that we need to do differently? Or did we do really well? So let's continue to do it. Or what did we do differently this month that got us and moved the needle even more, right? So you always want to have those discussions, like I said, normally on a monthly basis. You don't really want to do weekly. I'm sure my wife will probably say and attest that I definitely end up talking about finances more than just once a month. But if you can have a monthly targeted conversation where you say, hey, these were the goals that we have. Are those goals really attainable by the deadline that we set? Or do we need to reevaluate and reassociate those specific goals to become more attainable, right? Because the goal when it comes to finances, you don't want to make it so hard on yourself that you are stressed out and you can't move forward, right? So my wife is a little bit angry and I'm loving it. So she's rage driving a little bit. Anyway, so that's distracting me. Oh gosh. Okay, we made the light. So that is something that, finances are a really stressful thing to discuss. Go around this person. It's such a bad driver. So finances are so stressful, and if you can mitigate that stress by not making the goals that you have unattainable, then that is really important, right? It's really important to say, okay, this goal, we've been trying to reach it for a year now. It's not easy to do. We need to reevaluate. We need to reassociate what our goal really is, right? You want to make sure that you're not adding more stress by associating those goals that are just not attainable. So always be willing to pivot, always be willing to modify your goals, and then also, give it the time that it deserves, right? You can't just instantly make a decision based off of 1 month of data, right? You need to over multiple months, look at it and say, okay, this goal that we have, like for my wife and I, we want to have a house, right? This goal that we have to own a home, we've been saving for 6 months. We've, had 6 months of really great success, right? Or whatever that is. So let's, our reevaluation is let's just keep moving forward. Let's continue on this path because it's working really well. So those are some of the thoughts that I have when it comes to managing your finances as a couple and really just talking about finances. There's a lot to that. And so I really hope this video is helpful for you guys and just kind of displaying some of the ways that we are currently doing this, my wife and I. And let me know in the comments, are there some things that I might have missed? Are there some things that you and your significant other are talking about, discussing? Let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear from you guys. Obviously, if you enjoyed it at all, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe. If you're interested in talking about or seeing some of the other channels, videos that I have, you can click right here. Those will just be random videos I talk about. I talk about all things finance, relationships, kind of whatever comes to my mind when it comes to investments. And so yeah, I hope this video is helpful for you guys and have a great day. See ya.